This is the nameless protagonist. There have been a lot of interesting events that have taken place in the Manosphere lately. One of which has been a call to action to limit the authority and the agency with regards to some freedom of movement of women in the Black Manosphere spaces. There have been a lot of interesting revelations that have been brought to light from people who've been very trusted. People who've been given certain titles, certain breadth and width to operate from, certain privileges. And a lot of these individuals have not only taken it for granted and got comfortable, they've allowed for the corruption of the intent of the sphere as it was manifested in the first place to just run rampant. Behavior that never would have been condoned originally. Behavior that operates not only counterintuitive to the purpose of the Manosphere, but for the purpose of men. For the sake of the red pill. Even those who've progressed to the black pill. Hell, I'll even include those individuals who have tried to synchronize the two and become purple pill. You undermine your own interests when you don't consider the intentions of people and realize that regardless of what you've let in, you run the risk of losing everything as a result of that if you don't remember the meaning behind your movement. Women have a special dynamic with regards to social interaction. Robert Greene put it in a way where men threaten with their ability to do, and women threaten with their ability to deny. What it means is these things result in a modality of will to be expressed. And even though that will is expressed, the modality that it's carried out through isn't necessarily the same, but it doesn't mean that it's lesser. In an environment where a man's ability to assert and say, I will, usually by physical means, physical threat, physical prowess, gets limited by technology, the advent of modern society, whereas a woman's ability to assert what she will deny remains relevant because she comes into the world with a procured intrinsic value that does not change. And it has largely been left untampered with as modern society continues on into further ages of complexity. Now, that's not to say that things may not change in the future with the advent of various technology, cloning technologies, for example. But it doesn't take away the fact that we are existing in a modern world and operating on millions of years old technology. This brings me to the topic of what I really want to get into today. The Kunoichi, or female ninja, as it's described. I'm sure many of you know about this word ninja, what they stand for, what they were supposed to do, and what they're supposed to be. In short, a ninja's job is supposed to be to observe the enemy, infiltrate whatever compound they're needed to, or camp, or whatever it is, even a social setting, whether it be day or night, record various information of use, and report it back to their lord. Obviously, oftentimes, because we're dealing with human beings, there are levels of suspicion that will be applied to men being in certain areas. And this is exactly where we get the use for this term, Kunoichi, or the female agent. Ninjutsu tends to divide itself into a kind of philosophy that is related to the elements, known as the Godai, or the five great ways. They're connected with earth, water, fire, air, and the void. It sounds like Captain Planet. There's a lot of overlap that goes along with that. And I'm sure a lot of folks that study the esoteric sciences know very well how a lot of that leads right back to Kemet. But that's neither here nor there. One of the favored ways of applying the Godai to gathering information, if you were a Jonin or the leader of a hidden village that needed to know something about an individual of very high protection stature in society, women were the ones that were employed. Why? Because they could get to places a male agent could not dream of getting in by virtue of them simply being a female. If you're struggling to see the relevance of this now, maybe you don't know what's taken place lately. But understand that the Earth method, the Earth modality, those of you familiar with Naruto, the Doton techniques, Earth, this is where many Kunoichi were utilized, that form of strategy. They would be in a lord's manor as a servant, a concubine. They could be a passerby selling something. It could be any range of things. An individual just part of the background. And the whole time, they're observing, listening, recording, and reporting. And this would be one of the only ways some of these individuals could head off grand-standing events, objectives that take place at any given time. The moral of the story behind all of this is that even though many of the male agents did a lot of the brunt, physical work, laying down the foundation, oftentimes it was their ability to correctly and with precision utilize their female agents that postured them to make better use of the male agents. In other words, to achieve their agenda, objective, or whatever it is they were trying to do. In an area unique like the Manosphere, where the social benefit of being a female can remain unchecked under the context of a gynocracy. When these elements are in place here, you should not be surprised when there's a call to question the motives and to limit the modality and freedom of movement of those who have the greatest potential to ruin it, even if they don't mean to. As the Manosphere begins to constrict and go through a cleansing cycle, it's going to create counter rhetoric. It's going to create a kind of reflex where individuals reveal who they truly are. Pay close attention. Close attention. The Manosphere was not here to appease women under any circumstance. It was here to improve the lives of men and deprogram them from the damage they receive from not only modern society, but the gynocracy in particular. This is what we're here for. This is what we've always been for. It doesn't matter if you're uncomfortable with the message. It doesn't matter if it makes you feel a certain type of way. It doesn't matter if you've even donated in the past. Understand, this wasn't made for you. You're a guest here. There's a difference between rights and privileges. You have privileges here, and those privileges are now being layered back. And if you don't like it, you never needed to really be here in the first place. Nobody told you to come here. You've a door right there. You're free to hit the X button for anybody's content here. Many of us are here because we don't have a choice. Why? Because this is the only place we can come to without you having to give your approval for it. And that's what this has always been at the end of the day. That's why individuals have had to sit down and monitor. It's why we've been observed. And I'm very thankful that the network has been revealed to us that's been at play for a while under various acronyms. People who are listening to this now probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But I find something interesting. As the most recent Kunoichi goes and returns back to offer their report, I'm reminded of something in The Art of War. Sun Tzu says, and I quote, "Spies cannot be usefully employed without a certain intuitive shrewdness. They cannot be properly managed without benevolence and straightforwardness. Without subtle ingenuity of mind, one cannot make certain of the truth of their espionage reports. Hence, it is that with none in the whole army are more intimate relations to be maintained than with spies. None should be more liberally rewarded. In no other business should greater secrecy be preserved." End quote. Clearly, none of these principles were observed. None of these individuals have the character to even use the information correctly that they've even obtained. And with your last smear campaign, all you've done is just reveal the lengths at which you're willing to go to attack the sphere. You validate the existence of the gynocracy in spite of all the efforts people take to try to deny its existence. It's actually kind of embarrassing and amusing at the same time, I suppose. But it is definitely informative. Anybody still in the sphere, take note of this. This isn't the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last. But every bit that they reveal is an aspect that we can use to our advantage to improve and get stronger, because we only have one purpose. And that's to attain our agency, irrespective of anybody's approval, permission, but our own. This has been the Nameless Protagonist. Enjoy the rest of your day.